Steve and Joanna. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started. Could you please begin by introducing yourselves?
Sure. I'm Steve Murphy, Project Director for Acorn, and in particular for this action, which was the transportation aspects of Acorn sapling.
Hi, I'm Joanna Thornton. I was the project manager for the project, and I was responsible for leading the project team and ensuring that we met all the project objectives on schedule and within budget.
And because we were unable to make it over to Brussels for the Horizon 2020 workshop, we have sent this video to introduce everyone to the Acorn CCS project and the results of the Acorn CO2 sapling transport infrastructure project, supported by the Connecting Europe facility, the UK Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, the Scottish Government and Total. Can you give us a bit of background to Acorn? If I've understood correctly, CO2 sapling was an important component for progressing this wider vision of the Acorn carbon capture and storage project. Is this right?
Yes, Charlie, that's exactly right. Here in the northeast of Scotland, we're very fortunate having a near ideal situation for the low cost, low risk carbon capture, transportation and storage, as well as contributing to other forms of low carbon energy. In terms of why that is, there are 5 main reasons actually, and one is to do with storage. So we've got a huge amount of very high quality storage in a kind of near offshore, if you like, which is readily accessible by existing infrastructure. So that's the second point. So there's quite a bit of oil and gas pipelines that are now redundant, that some of those are suitable for reuse, particularly around Acorn. The third component is that there's existing CO2 emissions at the St Fergus gas terminal, which are of a meaningful amount to kick-start it with phase 1 of the Acorn project. And the fourth thing is around connectivity. So we've got great connectivity to central Scotland through the Feeder 10 pipeline for decarbonising the industrial base there. And then at Peterhead Port, we've got a fantastic opportunity actually to both decarbonise the east coast of the UK, possibly a little bit further afield in the UK, but also we've got an opportunity for the other North Sea basin countries to import their CO2 once some of the regulatory hurdles are overcome. And the final thing really is, because we've got around about a third of the UK's gas landing every day at St Fergus gas terminals, it's a great opportunity when we get into the production of hydrogen. So it's a great opportunity to reform that hydrogen, capture the CO2 in situ and send it off existing infrastructure into Acorn, and you've got kind of a ready CO2 storage ability for your hydrogen, so you've got low carbon hydrogen.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's great to start with that big picture and understand all of the different options associated with the Acorn vision. But everyone working in this space appreciates that getting one of these large multi-part infrastructure projects off the ground can be quite challenging. Last year, you were the first CCS project to be successfully awarded Connecting Europe facility funding under the Projects of Common Interest initiative. You said that this funding was helping to complete an important part of the puzzle for Acorn. Could you tell us more about what this CEF funding was for? And Joanna, you project managed the completion of the Acorn CO2 sapling project. Could you bring us up to date on what this programme has resulted in?
Shall I go first? We were awarded PCI status, I think, back in December 2017, so almost 2 years ago now, which was a really important milestone for Acorn, and it helped establish the credibility of the project, of the decarbonisation opportunity that it represents, as well as kind of raising the profile of the project and therefore putting Acorn on the map, so to speak, in Europe. And what we've seen really is that people and organisations are paying a lot more attention to the opportunity that represents, organisations as well as governments. So it's been truly fantastic. In terms of what the CEF funding was used for, so for the first action, I think John's going to talk a bit about the specifics, but really the first action was used to build on the work that we've done through the ACT programme, ACT being another European initiative for accelerating CCS technologies. And through that, through the ACT project, the ACT funding really, we were able to complete the feasibility phase of the whole chain Acorn project. And the CEF funding we put to use around developing further certain transportation aspects and exploring those connectivities really, in particular around the North Sea Basin area.
As Steve has said, we used the CEF1 funding to evaluate three fundamental areas of the transport infrastructure aspects of the Acorn project. So those included ship-based import and export of carbon dioxide through Peterhead Port. Secondly, we looked at the repurposing of the Feeder 10 onshore pipeline. And then the third aspect was looking at the repurposing of an offshore pipeline for CO2 transportation. So this work's enabled us to develop an even greater understanding than we had previously of the options available to us in respect of transportation. It's also enabled us to understand better the opportunities and the challenges which those various options present to us. So fundamentally, we've been able to use the funding to help move from a feasibility stage into the next stage of development. And in parallel with that, we've been able to go out to the market and attract serious investor interest in taking the project forward to the next stage.
So what's next for the project? Joanna, you said that you've been successful in attracting serious industry investment. You have also been successful in bidding for a number of other funding schemes, including the second round of the CEF funding. Isn't that correct, Steve?
That's right, Charlie. So, since the first award of CEF1, we've been successful in securing some additional funding through the CEF2 call, and we're putting that to use to kind of do the next level of engineering and design work around the transportation pieces that Joanna just mentioned. In addition to that, we secured some fairly substantial funding from UK government for the capture and storage elements of the Acorn project. And so we're able to kind of combine those two pieces into a whole chain project development and secure some new industry investment, in particular from our partners Shell and Crystal, which is really helpful and hopefully will be transformative again in taking the project forward. We have an application in for the third CEF call from which we're hopeful to be successful in. That will help us do some work around the import and export facilities at a couple of other ports around the North Sea Basin, as well as I think we've been nominated for inclusion on the next PCI listing, which will be hopefully enable us to build further on what we've done now and take us towards actually the implementation and the works. So really, the studies, and when we complete these studies, the CEF2 project should finish towards the end of next year, and at which point we hope to have a line of sight to final investment decision towards the end of 2021. And so that should really enable us to be applying for works in the next round of the PCI funding calls.
That's brilliant progress and a huge amount of work to keep you both busy and the rest of the team here at Pilby busy. Joanna, do you think that Acorn is going to be able to make the contribution that people hope to the European Union's CO2 emissions reduction?
We certainly hope so. We're working to a very tight development timescale, and as Steve has said, we're hoping that we will be able to achieve a financial investment decision which will enable us to commence construction of the project in the early to mid 2020s. The project also offers significant potential to contribute to both the UK government and the Scottish government net zero ambitions, and also through knowledge share, the Acorn CCS project can be a real enabler for other CCS projects in the UK, Europe and potentially beyond. We have an ability to use a large-scale industrial offshore infrastructure and a world-class CO2 store to potentially take CO2 from other regions in other areas too. So yeah, the project has huge potential to make a real difference to those targets.
That's great. Well, we're certainly looking forward to getting to that final investment decision on the works. Thank you both so much for taking the time to update us on the Acorn Carbon Capture and Storage project. If anybody in the Horizon 2020 workshop has any questions, really encourage you to get in touch and we'll do our best to answer those for you. Thank you.